The case challenging Illinois' gun and magazine ban has a court hearing today, but it's a status and scheduling conference just to get an idea of where the attorneys on both sides of this are at with getting their witnesses together. While you've got conversations being had by gun control groups on a whole bunch of Illinois legislation expected today and continued litigation against gun manufacturers who are alleged to be behind and responsible for gun violence because of the products they manufacture. So we'll talk about all of that here in this segment. I'm Greg Bishop. Thanks for hanging out with me. Be sure to follow along. Bishop on Air everywhere. Just search Bishop on Air on Facebook, on X, and right here on YouTube as well while I hang out in my home office delivering you guys the news. So appreciate you. All right, let's get into it. Of course, we've been tracking the Southern District of Illinois federal court case challenging Illinois' gun and magazine ban really since before it was actually enacted. And some of you guys who've been here since the beginning would love to see that thumbs up. Just put in the comments watching live. Been here since day one. Be interesting to see how many people each morning hanging out live, even when this was on terrestrial radio back on WMAY days, to when I just couldn't put in the 15 hours a day between the two jobs. So I decided to work smarter, not harder, and do a show here, keeping you guys updated. But we've been tracking this. The debate that happened before the law was passed and signed by the governor in January of 2023, and then all the way up to now, where you've got tons of litigation against the gun and magazine ban and so much more. So it's been interesting to track this because I'm not an attorney. I may dress like one on occasion, but I'm not an attorney. So tracking this and how the litigation plays out and the terminology, I hope that we've been able to essentially be on the same page and learning together in all of this, while looking at that discussion about what the Second Amendment is and whether or not government has the ability to restrain, restrict, or infringe on the Second Amendment. And I know that a lot of the arguments are really getting down to what kinds of firearms are allowed to be in the hands of citizens versus what kinds of firearms shouldn't be in the hands of citizens. And all of this, of course, is going to come out as the debate continues. But we've been tracking this since day one, even before the law was passed, enacted, banning the sale of more than 170 different semi-automatic firearms, rifles, shotguns, handguns, magazines over certain capacities. It was no more than 15 rounds for handguns, no more than 10 rounds for magazines. So all of those were prohibited to be sold for several months until, of course, weeks after the law was implemented, lawsuits were filed in both state and federal court. We've tracked the state level challenge all the way to the Illinois Supreme Court, then bouncing up to the U.S. Supreme Court, only to deny that, coming back to the Illinois Supreme Court, and then putting that to rest, at least the state level case. You've still got the federal cases that are lingering. And Naperville case was actually the first one filed back in November of 2022, when you had Robert Beavis from Law Weapons sue Naperville over their gun and magazine ban. They then amended their lawsuit to include the state ban. So that's actually been decided by the district court, went up to the 7th Circuit, lumped in with other lawsuits challenging the state's ban from the Southern District of Illinois Federal Court and the 7th Circuit, ultimately with split decisions from the Southern District, who granted an injunction against the gun ban. That injunction, halting the law from being enforced, was ultimately overturned with a stay by the 7th Circuit courts in the Southern District. So then you have the Northern District courts side with the state, saying on a preliminary motion, this was not on the merits. None of that action last year was on the merits of whether or not the state can ban commonly owned firearms, like a AR-15, for instance, or like a lot of other firearms that some people scratch their heads and say, how can that possibly be an assault weapon? So you've got the trajectory of all these cases. Really do need like a whiteboard back here or something just to spell out where we're at, right? But today, in the Southern District of Illinois Federal Court, Judge Stephen McGlynn is holding a scheduling conference with litigants to discuss the next steps to get to the merits of this. Because after all that preliminary action last year, Now it's time to get to the merits. And despite attempts by not just the defense, but the plaintiffs in the Southern District, they wanted to hold off on getting to the merits so they could ask the U.S. Supreme Court again, which they ultimately did, to intervene. Well, we're waiting on the U.S. Supreme Court to make a decision on that. McGlenn said, we've got to move forward on the merits of this based off of what the Seventh Circuit had to say, the appeals court had to say. So they're moving forward. We've reviewed all of the different types of experts that some of the plaintiffs want to have heard during a trial. So that's going to start playing out here. We'll get a defined schedule, I imagine, in very short order of what to expect moving forward in that challenge in the Southern District. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens today. Sadly, I'm not going to be able to go down to the courtroom in East St. Louis and live tweet the proceedings. I'm going to have to stay at the Capitol here in Illinois, in Springfield, to track all the stuff that's going on at the Statehouse because both chambers are in. So just one person. I can't be in both places, but I can bring you tomorrow some of the latest that happens there. So be sure to follow along with Bishop on Air on X. But that's not the only thing going on. You've got other issues going on. The coalition of gun control advocates, they are holding a call of sorts. They say that they're excited for updating an upcoming monthly coalition call with the Homicide Victims Family Rights Act being the focus. And you got an Illinois legislature that's going to be a part of that conversation with this gun control group. You've got other things that they're going to discuss, like Senate Bill 2633, and this is coming from Everytown Against Gun Violence. They are looking at a couple of different measures in Illinois that would essentially allow for police to be required to go after firearms of somebody who has a firearm restraining order issued against them, which raises a lot of questions about due process. First of all, the FROs, the red flag laws, those do raise substantial questions about due process, which I think is a separate conversation on its own. But they're going to be talking about that. They're also going to be talking about different types of data transparency that they're going to be pushing for at the Illinois Statehouse. They're going to be talking about gun storage and stuff on lost and stolen guns. So several measures at the Illinois Statehouse that they're looking to ultimately advance. And I do want to try to pull up Illinois.gov, Illinois General Assembly's website, ilga.gov. We'll look at this together as I get my notes here so we can kind of see exactly how this plays out, right? So looking at my notes, you've got some of the bills that the gun control advocates are going to be pushing for. One is Senate Bill 2633. Where are we at on Senate Bill 2633? So go to ilga.gov, and you should be able to kind of follow along and do this yourself so you can kind of see where we're at on this. So firearms, domestic violence, it's in a subcommittee. So not sure if that measure is going to be coming out anytime soon, but that's just one measure. And then you've got House Bill 4469. Let's go check out House Bill 4469. Where is that at? Right now, that's in the Rules Committee, and you have a possible extension on getting that out of committee. So it's not really advanced to the full House or to the full Senate. What about safe gun storage? Senate Bill 3527. Let's see, SB 3527. Here you've got the measure is in a subcommittee, so not much is going on with that measure. What about House Bill 5065? House Bill 5065. You've got this in committee, so it doesn't look like they've got a good track record here of these measures moving at the Illinois Statehouse. Lost and stolen guns, HB 5595. HB 5595. Let's search that one. Here we go. That's also in committee, so it has not advanced, I imagine. Just taking a stab in the dark here. SB 3737. Has that advanced at all? 3737. I think I fat fingers here. SB 3737. Here we go. And that also is in committee. So clearly you can see the gun control groups pushing for certain bills at the State House. Those measures really haven't advanced. And we've been looking at that for weeks upon weeks in prior shows, but while there's been a lot of concern as to them possibly moving these things, a lot of these measures about lost and stolen guns and safe gun storage and expanding the firearms restraining order laws, those really have not advanced. So interesting to see that particular gun control group going to have those conversations. So that's what's going on, or maybe not going on, at the Illinois Statehouse when it comes to those particular proposed bills. But we still have the ongoing lawsuits against gun manufacturers and the challenges against the state law that allows for those lawsuits. We've talked about the lawsuits that the city of Chicago has against Glock, and that is, of course, something that we'll be tracking. But apparently you also have individuals impacted by the July 4th mass shooting in Highland Park suing Smith & Wesson. And Smith & Wesson has been looking to essentially move a state-level lawsuit where they're being sued to federal court. Well, the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals rejected Smith & Wesson's attempt to try to take that lawsuit to federal court, and instead ruled that they have to move forward in the local Lake County court. So families suing Smith & Wesson, and Smith & Wesson trying to move that to federal court, but that's not happening. So interesting to see these stories, and we'll track as much as we can for you here in Illinois and how this stuff impacts the Second Amendment. So be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, stay with us, and we'll keep you posted on the very latest when we get it. All right. Somebody's asking, am I a Glock or a SIG guy? I'll plead the fifth to your questions. That's funny. I will, however, accept invitations from gun ranges that want to show me what's going on at your gun range. I've got a couple. Maybe this summer we do some traveling to different places throughout Illinois and talk with some of the experts out there about firearms, firearm safety, training, the types of things people can do. So a lot to come on all of that. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. I'm Greg Bishop. Thanks for hanging out with me each and every weekday morning as I have all these buttons in front of me, pushing things and making stuff happen. So like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for me, all right? Yeah, I'm a High Point guy. James. Oh, that's pretty good.